Hi, I'm Lee Jameson. I've recently written a book called Ode to East Texas. It should be released in January of 2021 through Texas A&M University Press. The aim of Ode to East Texas is to reintroduce East Texas itself to what I call the canon of Texas art. That is to say, that vision of Texas that Texas has of itself, where presently we think of Texas as being open grasslands, big rangelands and ranches and mountainous regions dotted with cacti. East Texas, though, is a place of towering pagodas of pine trees, of deep and covered journeys through cypress and swamp. It's a place where neighbors can be more separated by 200 yards in a forest than people out on the plains might be in 20 miles of grassland. It makes it a kind of a hidden place, a cocooned place, almost an occult place. And there's something deeply spiritual and mysterious about that. Something that I think Texas misses when we lose that. Uh, and in the last 120 years, we have looked at Texas as though that part of what Texas is, which is where Texas was born, where its history begins. It is where Texas got its name. All of those things have been lost to us in this vision of the distant horizon and the big sky and that reaching, ever reaching to the west. It's not that you don't want those things to be images of Texas, because Texas is more than big enough to handle all of that. But this particular area of Texas is something that is close to the soul of what we are. Not just where we are, but what we are. And I wanted to bring that soul of what we are back. In the book, Ode to East Texas, one of the things that I say about the piney woods, these forested regions of the state in which Texas was born, is that it's almost like a wood-henge. We know when we look back at the old world, we see these old stone circles that stand all over the place. In the old religion in which those had deep meaning, there was also a corollary. And there would often be a path from one place where the stone hinge was, where the circle of stones showed one aspect of the spiritual life, to a place where trees stood or wooden columns stood in a circle. And they performed that same function for a different aspect of the spiritual life of the people. And in the case of both, there was a communication that was implied in the way the space was used. There was supposed to be a communication with the underworld. And if you think of it, there is a spiritual underworld of East Texas. in which the trees serve as kind of our wood-henge, where we are founded and we make our communication with the ancients. Now, this serves as a kind of spiritual metaphor in the book, and I'm not meaning it literally, and that's certainly not what I believe religiously. But there is a great storytelling power in that kind of imagery. And I think for an artist, it's very important to be able to grasp to these places of storytelling power. How is it that we can take a place and find our way to understanding the way it communicates to us of the people who we have known in those places? And another aspect of the book is how, as I move from being a city boy living down in Houston up into being a resident of East Texas, first in college and then as a young adult and budding young artist, I got to know people. And the people in those places became kind of spiritual icons to me about all the people in the culture of this place in which I lived. There's a cocoonedness to the way you perceive life inside this wood hinge of the piney woods. But there's also a kind of spiritual grandeur in it. And those people in my memory ring with a power that touches on my experience in all of East Texas, whether it's up in the northern regions where I went to college or down in the southern regions where I made my life in Dodge. There's what I want to do with this book is to make the most of all of that and bring you into this place, this spiritual place, through these images, the paintings, the stories that I tell, through my recollection of how East Texas came to have a home in my heart. I want to draw you in to communication with that spiritual hearth and home of Texas as we know it. I'm Lee Jameson. Thank you for watching.